Garret Hour is with Municipal Broadband PDX. PDX is the airport designator for Portland, and so people who live here often refer to Portland as PDX. The website municipalbroadbandpdx.org, and you can tweet Garret at Garret, it's 2 R's, 2 T's, G-A-R-R-E-T-T, Hour, H-O-U-R, or at PublicNetPDX. So what is this all about? Garret, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So I have, go ahead.
Municipal Broadband PDX is a group which is pushing the city of Portland to create its own internet service provider, something that an increasing number of cities all over the U.S. are doing. It's an idea that has, since the repeal of net neutrality, really caught on. We are seeing, as a recent Harvard study has shown, that municipalities are capable of creating providers for internet service that are not only much higher quality, but much cheaper than companies like Comcast.
Yeah, aren't the shining examples Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Longmont, Colorado?
Yes, and more locally here, there's Sandy, Oregon, Tacoma, Washington. They both have municipal internet providers as well.
So how does this work? You know, my home has well, it has arguably, perhaps, 2 wires coming into it. We have the Comcast wire coming in, and so the only provider that I can get is Comcast, you know, for internet services. And it probably has old telephone wires wired to the house. We don't use them, but I'm guessing that there's a copper pair coming into the house. How do you get municipal broadband into the house when the internet service providers like Comcast assert that that piece of coax is theirs?
So that's a great question. Our plan for municipal broadband in Portland calls for fiber infrastructure, fiber municipal broadband to the home. So we're going to be running it all the way out to the home.
So you're going to be digging up the city?
Yes.
Cool. What is
that's the plan.
What's the cost on that?
So we're still working on an estimate. We're currently pushing City Council to initiate a new feasibility study. They did one 10 years ago. The results of that were extremely positive, and we are pushing them to create a new one so that we can build a new comprehensive plan for it, as well as a business case for how this thing is going to be self-funded, because that's another thing that is really important to stress with municipal broadband is it's not taxpayers who are paying for it. This thing is going to be funded, the build-out is going to be funded entirely through bonds, and then from there, it's going to be funded by users who are paying into the system.
Right, makes perfect sense. We mentioned 5 cities, Tacoma, Washington, Sandy, Oregon, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Longmont, Colorado. Is there any substantial difference in the way these different cities are doing municipal broadband? And is one of them a model for what you're trying to do, or have you come up with something that you think is different or unique?
Yeah, so we're currently building out our plan for municipal broadband in Portland. I'd say the big thing is, you know, the degree to which the business models on which you can do this thing, but it's relatively the same across those communities that we mentioned. Something that makes it a lot cheaper here is we already have a lot of public transportation infrastructure that we can leverage to, you know, just run cables through pre-existing conduits that we created for our public transit system. So it's going to be a lot cheaper here. But to go into any kind of like comprehensive plan for it, that's not something that I'd be able to speak on quite yet.
Right, because you're doing the study. But you know, the study you did 10 years ago is out there. What's the payback period, or what has the payback period been for the cities that have already done this? Is it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
So it could be as short as 5 years. It varies dramatically depending on the size of the build-out, how many subscribers they have. A lot of the communities that have done it already, you know, they can just get a fiber network up because, you know, they're kind of smaller communities. Portland would be a rather large city to build up this initiative, and I think that's why this is so important here. This is why this is so revolutionary, especially in this moment when net neutrality has been repealed. It was lobbied very aggressively against by the very companies that we've trusted for so long to provide us with access to the essential utility that is the internet. And now they want to control that so that they can make an extra buck off of it, selling us access to websites like they sell us access to channels.
Well, now they're even keeping track of every website you hit and then selling that information to people who might want to, advertise to you or sell things to you. It's totally bizarre.
Oh, yes.
So,
and that's
go ahead.
That's the other half of the thing. There's a lot of talk about net neutrality recently. Now, I was happy about that, all the attention that was getting, but something that kind of flew under the radar a little bit with everything else that was happening earlier this year was the repeal of essential internet privacy regulation, which allowed these companies to sell information about what you do online without your consent.
Yeah, and it's happening all the time. Well, they claim they have your consent because you clicked the box when you signed up for their broadband service. It's probably built into their terms of service, but it's still criminal in my opinion, or it's just wrong. I mean, it's just terribly wrong. So if you guys can make this happen, and you can run fiber into my home, what should I expect to get, and what should I expect to pay for that?
So looking at the other communities that have implemented municipal broadband, $40 is a really good estimate on what we can charge. It's still very early on. We're putting together a financial model for this right now. So nothing is certain, but what we can say for certain is it's going to be a hell of a lot cheaper than what Comcast is offering.
Yeah.
It will likely be half, if not more, or if not less, than the prices that Comcast is offering, and it's going to be symmetrical bandwidth.
So symmetrical bandwidth means if you've got 50 MIPS down, you got 50 MIPS up.
Yes, and that's which you often pay for like a maximum speed from ISPs, and that's just not what you're actually getting. You're getting a lot less of that.
Right, you're getting burst speeds.
A lot of the time.
Yeah, we discovered this when we were doing this show from Washington, D.C., and we had Comcast, and we needed a reliable 5 MIPS up to upload our TV stream, to Denver for Free Speech TV. It's not a lot of bandwidth, 5 megabytes.
It's not.
But we had to have 4 100 down, 20 up modems in order to have a reliable 5 MIP up continuous upload. And this is paying for commercial accounts. We were paying like $600-700 a month for broadband just to get what you're telling me I could get for $40 a month here in Portland if we can get municipal broadband.
Yeah. So the service would not only be much cheaper, but it would also be, as I said, much higher quality, much more reliable, and it would be much faster. The infrastructure that companies like Comcast are using to deliver their service is actually quite outdated. So it would be an excellent move from the standpoint of organizations which rely on these services to support municipal broadband for that reason.
Yeah, Garret, we just have 20 seconds left. Are you guys communicating with other cities? Is there a national movement for this? Obviously people in Portland, municipal broadband PDX, but people all over the country who want to see this kind of thing happening in their community. Do you have information on how they can do it?
Yeah, so I'd suggest connecting with other communities who are doing this. And, we're actually having a rally coming up this Saturday at Portland City Hall, 2:00 p.m. That's really the number one thing I suggest is just organize for it in your local community.
There you go. And if you're in Portland, get thee to City Hall Saturday at 2 p.m. to encourage, shall we say, the City Council and the Mayor to consider municipal broadband for Portland. This is great. Garret Hour, you're doing God's work. Municipalbroadbandpdx.org is the website. You can tweet Garret Hour or PublicNetPDX. Garret, thank you.